From Hurricanes Harvey and Irma to that deadly earthquake in Mexico and blazing wildfires across the Northwest, we have seen in recent weeks the destructive power of Mother Nature. There is perhaps no better time then to make sure we are prepared for the worst case scenario, which here in Western Washington is probably a massive earthquake and resulting tsunami that some experts say could happen at any time. So to help us to get ready this morning is Robert Ezell. He is the director of our state's Emergency Management Division. Robert, good to see you.
Good morning, Brandy.
We're seeing all these images, and they're horrible, from Texas and Florida and Mexico and elsewhere, and the wildfires here. Do you think that when we are seeing those images somewhere else, that it makes people here more apt to get prepared for something here?
I would hope that it would trigger that type of thinking in people, because the understanding is this sort of thing can happen anywhere. Whether it's in the southeast or the northwest, there are many different types of disasters that can impact us, and it just benefits us to be ready. And
I told you one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on is we've had you on to talk about this before, and we've urged disaster preparedness, and some people still don't do it. And so honestly, I thought, if they see the destruction and the level of destruction elsewhere, that it might be, and I hate to say it, guys, but it might scare you into sort of getting ready. Before we talk about what we should be doing, I want to talk about what you should be doing, because this is your job every single day to make sure that we're prepared as a state to deal with this. And we haven't been as prepared as we should be in the past for something like a massive earthquake. And we've been out together. You and I have had the pleasure of going out to a lot of drills. We've been out to wildfires together. Describe our state's level of preparedness, given all those drills, to handle something that immense.
I would say that as a state, our feet are maybe on that first rung of the ladder. We have a long way to go, but I think that we have a much better understanding of the hazards that face us here in Washington State. And so I think we also have a better grip of what we need to be able to do to get prepared. But in terms of doing it, I think we're taking those first baby steps in terms of putting together the plans, framing the public preparedness messaging that needs to go out. And so I think we're at the very beginning and have a long way to go before we get to the level of preparedness that, say, for example, Japan is.
But tell me if this is an accurate way to describe this. If we're talking about a massive earthquake, a terrible earthquake here and a tsunami, you guys are never going to be able to be fully prepared for that. Is that fair?
I think that's entirely accurate, that we see preparedness for a major event like this being a 50 to 100-year undertaking, and even then, we will never be fully prepared, but we can be a lot more ready for it than we are today, and that's the goal. And
that's why you guys have stressed, kind of admitting that, look, we're not going to be able to save all of you, and people need to be prepared for themselves. So I want to walk over here, because you brought a couple things with you to show us how we can all get prepared. So the recommendation, Robert, in an ideal situation is 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks preparedness is our new preparedness messaging.
Okay, so we've been talking, and I see Liz over there, because this is a conversation Liz and I had. Not everyone is going to be willing to do 2 weeks. Some of us don't think we have room for 2 weeks worth of survival stuff, especially if you have a large family. So you've brought some other options. I asked you to bring the bare minimum, basically. So what do we have here? So
what we have here is a preparedness kit that you can just buy online. Costs you about $30. And they advertise it as a 3-day kit, and it has drinking water in it. It has a high-calorie food bar. It's got a poncho, a survival blanket, a whistle, and a couple of other items that you need. And it would be the bare minimum of something that you could have with you. You can keep it in your car. You can have it under your desk at work. You could have it under your bed at home, but it is at least something that would help you get through the initial impacts of an incident.
Yeah, and keep in mind, because when he says that initial impacts, for people who survive in the event of a major earthquake and tsunami, and not everyone is going to, you might have to wait for help. We're going to have these islands where people are going to be stuck, right, waiting for help, and so something like this could at least get you through for a couple days. So one of the big things, you've told me before that you would need a gallon of water per person per day, which if you have a family of 4 or 5 or 6, nobody has room for that. So tell me what this is, because this will help with that.
Again, this is just something that you can buy in a sporting goods store, and what it is a water filtration system, and it can produce several gallons of water a day. You just put the intake cup in a reasonably clean source of water, pump it, and you can produce about 1 liter of water a minute with it.
So I don't need 1 billion of these for my family stockpiled in the only closet that we have.
But I would still have some regular drinking water on hand, for sure.
Gotcha. And then quickly getting through, what is this?
This is a NOAA weather radio,
Okay.
and again, every home should have one. And what it's battery powered, solar powered. You've got a hand crank on the back if you need it, but the government will be putting out weather information, but also information after a disaster via radio. And if you have something like this, you can get critical survival information that way.
And then quickly, because we're out of time here, you brought some things, and something that you told me that I thought, we've had these conversations out on drills before, it was really helpful is, if you're thinking about the expense of how much all of this is going to cost you, maybe just buy a little bit of stuff. I know you have some, what is this?
That would be kind of a freeze-dried meal.
Tomato
again,
chipotle pasta with chicken.
Exactly.
Freeze-dried meal. And some cans of tuna. So something that he said as we wrap up here is, maybe you can't afford to buy hundreds of dollars worth of survival gear at once, but every time you go to the grocery store, maybe pick up a couple things and then build your stockpile that way.
Exactly. A can of tuna, a can of beans, a little bit at a time.
All right, Robert Ezell, we always appreciate you stopping by, and it's so important that people take this seriously, look at what's happening in Texas, look at what's happening in Florida, and know that it's possible we could have something here. So
Thank you,
thanks,
Brandy.
Robert. Yep. Back to you guys.